Hello and welcome to CWL Builds. Today we're going to talk about the 15 tools I use most in my shop. Starting off strong with my screwdriver set. This is a mini screwdriver set, but I do also have larger screwdrivers as well. I tend to use these smaller ones more often though because I'm usually taking apart toys like this or Nerf guns, and they usually have these small little screws in them. Next up is a classic, scissors. Now you don't need all of these, I just happen to collect scissors, I like them. All you need is a good pair of multi-purpose scissors, like these ones. These happen to be Fiskars. Now everyone watching has probably used scissors at some point in their life, so I'm not going to go into crazy detail about them. You know what they do. But there are certain scissors for certain jobs, like fabric scissors and thread cutting snippers. And sometimes it's nice to have some of these really heavy-duty scissors for thicker materials like plastic. Next on my list are awls, or Scratchalls. They come in different forms and shapes, but basically it's a metal spike with a handle. Pretty simple. I use them for a lot of things, like clearing out clogged glue bottles and paint containers, or, as the name suggests, scratching. Sometimes I have to scratch plastic in order to get paint or glue to stick, or if I need to puncture holes in something, like this. Very versatile. They're one of those tools that I really didn't use until I had them, and now that I have them, I use them all the time. This is a utility knife, or also known as a box cutter. You may have seen them looking like this. I don't use this type as much in my shop, but I really use these quite a lot. They are long-bladed utility knives, and you can replace the blades once they get dull. But you can also sharpen them relatively easily if you have a small blade sharpener. These are excellent for cutting EVA foam for cosplay, armor, and really anything else you need. They also come in smaller versions and even larger than the one you see here. This is a tool that's always within arm's reach, and I use it in almost every one of my projects. Next up are craft blades, hobby knives, or as most people know them, X-Acto blades. X-Acto is a brand name, like Kleenex or Chapstick, but we tend to call these tools X-Acto blades. They're great for cutting small detail work, and they always have a wide range of different tool heads and blades for whatever you need, really. This is the classic blade, which you just saw. I have more of like a chisel, heavy-duty blade, and I even have some that have little saws on the end. And of course, I've got plenty of extra blades. I have these in a separate category than the utility blade, because these are used for more precise work and for small detailed bits. Moving on to sanding sticks. Now, these are different from sandpaper. These are basically sandpaper that's already been stuck to a rigid foam core stick. They're usually double-sided and come in different grits. You can also make these yourself by gluing normal sandpaper to a popsicle stick or to something large and flat, like in this case, a large piece of aluminum that I had, but you can also use wood or plastic. They're great because they have that hard backing, which means you can file things down with pretty precise detail. They even come in little sanding twigs like this one. Another tool most people have, even if they're not a maker, tweezers. For me, tweezers are one of those tools where I may not use them in every single project, but when I need them, they come in handy. I have a few different options, but this one is one of my favorites. It has a slightly curved tip, which allows me to hold it more comfortably while getting into tight spaces. They're also great for holding small texturing sponges when you're painting. Next on my list are files. These are similar to the sanding sticks you saw before, but in this case, these are metal files, so they'll last much longer, and you can work on harder materials, like metal. In this case, brass, but I also tend to use them on aluminum and other softer metals. I have a mix of these small needle files and these larger files as well. I use these larger yellow handle files a lot because of the large flat surface and the sharp 90-degree angles on the edges. And this one because of the rounded side, which is nice when I'm working on things that already have a rounded edge or need a rounded edge. These are called flush cutters or micro cutters. Basically, they're just wire cutters, but when the blades come together, it's flat on one side. This is a tool I've had for years, and I use it in every project. They're excellent for cutting wire. As you can see, there's that flat side. And what I use them most for is cutting plastic. The ones I have are called CHP 170 micro cutters, and I've had them for years. They've been great, but just type in flush cutters or micro cutters online and you'll find a bunch. Moving on, this is called a jeweler's saw. As the name might suggest, these are usually used by jewelers in jewelry making, but I use them all the time. I got mine online and it came with a bunch of extra saw blades. You can see each one of those is a bundle, and here is the individual saw blade. These are really good at cutting softer metals like aluminum and brass, and excellent for cutting thin pipes like these. And you'll see here the difference between cutting and sawing. That's the saw side, and that is the cutter side. So it crushes it. As you saw, it's great for cutting metal, but it also cuts plastic really well. And because of the small blade, it means it has a small kerf, so you're not wasting as much plastic and you can cut smaller details. They can take a bit of practice to get used to, and you may break a few blades, but luckily, they usually come with a bunch of extras. The next item on my list is actually something you've been staring at the entire time: the cutting mat. These are self-healing cutting mats. This one happens to be two-sided, and it's a perfect workspace to work on. They're self-healing, which means if you cut through them with a blade, they heal back together, and the cut mark becomes basically invisible after just a few seconds. As you can see, it doesn't work on everything. There's a few cuts and scrapes where if you go a little too deep and you take out a chunk, it's not going to heal itself. Almost all cutting mats also come with a bunch of handy little measurement devices. I don't use these a whole lot, but it is nice if I'm cutting multiples of something. So say I'm cutting a whole bunch of little pieces that are 2 inches or 3 inches, I can use these and cut a bunch of them. An often overlooked tool is the paintbrush, and I've got quite the collection here, but I didn't spend a whole lot of money on these. Paintbrushes can get really expensive. I tend to just buy the $5, $10 variety pack and get a whole bunch of different sizes and shapes. I still do that to this day, and they work totally fine for the kind of projects that I build. You can find paintbrushes out there for hundreds and hundreds of dollars for a single paintbrush. For me, this is my most expensive one. It was $8, and I use it exclusively for my washes and weathering. I also find that makeup brushes can give you really cool effects, especially when it comes to dry brushing. And just for fun, here's one of my smallest paintbrushes, and here's one of my largest. Next up on our list is a heat gun. This is pretty self-explanatory. It's basically a hairdryer on steroids. Mine happens to be a Wagner heat gun, and it has 2 settings, a medium and a high. But you can get some where you can program exactly what temperature you want, but of course those will be more expensive. I use it mostly to speed up the paint drying process, and when I need to shape a piece of plastic or thermoplastic into whatever shape I need. This is my rotary tool, or specifically my Dremel 3000. And this is one of the few name brand tools you'll see on this list. You can buy non-Dremel brand rotary tools, but honestly when it comes to rotary tools, Dremel is one of the best, and they're not as expensive as you may think. This one is about 50 to 60 bucks, but Dremel also sells ones that go up to a couple $100. If you're just starting in crafting, this is one of the first power tools I would recommend buying. My first Dremel tool has been around for over 10 years, and it's still going. So they're really good investments. Speaking of good investments, this is also a really good one. These go for about $30 and they're the Dremel Flexible Shafts Model 225s. They're super easy to install and just screw into your original Dremel tool. The smaller handle is just more ergonomic and more comfortable. I like to hang my Dremel tool up and to the right so I can still reach it, but it's out of the way. Most rotary tools, Dremel included, will come with a little accessory pack. I mostly use the sanding drum which is currently attached, but it's always nice to have a few different options like cutting bits, grinding bits, polishers, and wire wheels. I even have this little drill chuck which will fit into the end of the Dremel tool. And last but not least, the most important tool in my shop, my hands. Now, don't take your hands for granted. They are very important tools. And I know that some people don't have hands, or maybe don't have full mobility in their hands, and folks like that who still continue to build and make things and create things are very inspiring to me. So just like every other tool in this list, if you take care of your hands, they'll take care of you and they'll last for the long run. A lot of the tools that I've showed you in this video can poke you, they can cut you, they can scrape you, they can burn you. So, safety first, make sure you protect your hands, protect your eyes, protect your lungs. Just keep in mind the dangers when using those tools and don't rush yourself. Oftentimes when I've injured myself, it's because I was rushing and I did something stupid. An extra second to make sure you're safe will always be worth it in the long run. Alright, I've probably talked your ear off at this point, but end of the day, stay safe, have fun, and thank you for watching. I will leave links in the description to all the tools that I talked about today. Thank you for watching and supporting my channel, and as always, I will see you in the next video.